Welcome, everybody, to another episode of A Conversation With here on Keyboard Kimura, presented by One Bone. I'm E. Spencer Kite, joined by one of my favorite people in this space, somebody that I am fortunate to call a friend, that I've been fortunate to know for a great number of years. And as it turns out, 13 years ago today, I prepared, I believe, to interview him for the first time ahead of a WEC title fight against Dominic Cruz. He is Joseph Benavidez.
Now
Thank you
look,
for doing this, brother. How are you?
13 years later. Very good. Very good.
I really appreciate you doing this.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
You were on the when I first started coming up with this concept, you were on the automatic list of yourself and your lovely wife, who has been on the program, Megan O'Leary, were top of the list of like, okay, who can I reach out to that I want to have cool conversations, not necessarily about the sport itself, but just them and life and interests.
I'm here for it. I love this.
And you and Megs were absolutely at the top of the list. So I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, man. I love the concept and, pleasure to be on, of course.
We will start though where we always do. And that is, when did you fall in love with combat sports?
I always liked it. Like, honestly, I can trace like where I felt like it was my calling back to, well, look, so I grew up with a ton of cousins, 2 brothers, and I would always, be the one, like we would always wrestle on the trampoline, Royal Rumble on the bed, throw each other off the trampoline, fight in the sandbox, all that kind of stuff. But funny enough, I can trace it back to like martial, like combat, like Van Damme, watching Van Damme movies. And then, funny story, my aunt lied to me and told me that Van Damme was my uncle.
Okay.
And I like felt this hereditary urge to honor our martial arts bloodline. And like I just started going to school and like doing the splits and telling everyone like I knew karate and Van Damme was my uncle. And I didn't know how to do karate, but I would go and I just told everyone like Van Damme's my uncle. And then like I do splits on the chairs, and then it like, this is like second grade, and the rumors, everyone's like, guys, Van Damme's his uncle, like don't mess with him. Like it's crazy. Nice. But it's like, so funny enough, that's kind of like a root of everything of like, oh, like I thought I was cool, but then when Van Damme was my uncle, like I knew I had to do,
So how did we progress from Van Damme is my uncle to wrestling in high school, wrestling a little bit in college for a very brief period of time, to pursuing this craft? What was the through line of it all? Was it just that competition piece?
Well, by the time I found out he wasn't my uncle, it was too late. I'd already, committed my life to this. No, just kidding. No, I found out obviously pretty early. Let's see. I mean, honestly, wrestling obviously was a big thing. I mean, that's a combat sports background. That is my background as far as, I'm not high level. I was a state champ of New Mexico, which isn't like the best state, but we have great fighters come out of New Mexico. You know what I mean?
Man, state champ is still state champ.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole lot of dudes in New Mexico when you were coming up that would have loved to have been state champ.
Exactly. So, but it's crazy because like, I think at one point from one state tournament, like in a small high school gym in Albuquerque, there was like 4 future UFC fighters, which is crazy. And it was like me, John Dotson, Damasio Page, and Diego Sanchez. We were all at one state tournament in a gym, just, on a podium, wrestling but like 4, cut to, years later, all 4 of those guys in the UFC in, New Mexico State Championship. So I think it breeds like good fighters. Obviously we have, Greg Jackson's Academy, and it's like a sought after place for it. But yeah, the wrestling is when I really just started falling in love with that. That was my first also like, individual sport. Cause like any other kid that likes sports, I thought I was going to be like a professional football player and all this. And then I was actually really good at football when everyone was the same size.
Right.
But then everyone got bigger, and like such an advantage in football. So I took up wrestling in 8th grade and just fell in love with it immediately. Like all the things you hear, like the discipline of it, which was great and something, like all kids like really need. Just the fact that like I wasn't relying on a team. It was just me. It was all up to me. And I think that's, what I think drive a lot of fighters as well. And it's such a good value to have, to not have to rely on anybody else and be fully accountable for you, your actions and everything. So fell in love with that. And then so got through high school, you know, um, pretty much my wrestling career was done. You can't really do much else. And I was just working in like a regular job as a screen printer actually in New Mexico. And I can also account a lot of my journey to becoming sober, because if I wouldn't have done that, I don't think I ever would have, had the focus and discipline to like do anything else. Like my life was really just going like this way, like down the drain. And then it's like, I didn't get sober to fight, but when I got sober, I realized, oh, there's more I can do than what I was doing. And, it took me months, but I slowly fell into like, well, what are my passions? What are my, desires? What am I interested in? And, I missed wrestling. I missed the competition. I missed feeling like the value in what you get from those, from, those events and the success and everything. And gratefully, right around the time MMA was kind of blowing up, the Ultimate Fighter just happened, which I think really ignited a sense of like, this is a job. Like they're on TV. They won
Right.
a six-figure contract.
Right.
They won a car. Like this is a job. Like you can be
Right.
rich doing this. But
Yeah.
so it kind of ignited that stuff started to blow up, and I was like, saw people fighting around my hometown that I knew. I was like, I can beat these guys up, and they're like on posters, like getting paid and getting
Right.
all the ladies and all the glory. And I'm like, I'm just here. Like I was a state champion. I could just body
Right.
slam dudes. And anyway, yeah, so I started doing that. And basically, like I said, like when the sport started blowing up, it was perfect timing for me, having just kind of like tried to reinvigorate my life and change around my old habits and stuff, with drinking and drug use, where I had a clear mind to be like, this is a path I could actually follow. And I laid out the whole plan of like doing it, how much I need to do, what I need to do after a few fights, move here. And, I was going to actually just move to Albuquerque was my plan. But, told the story many times how the happenstance of me being in Sacramento ended me getting there. So, everyone's known that story. But yeah, that was the beginning of it that I feel like I don't get to tell enough. Yeah.
Not to get too deep into it and pry too much, and obviously you've been open with it in elements in the past. The drug use, the sobriety getting there prior to was pretty bad, right? Like it was an everyday thing for
Yeah.
you. It was a this is kind of life. I go and I do my job, and when I'm not doing job, I'm doing this stuff.
Oh, even when I was doing the job,
Right.
I
Yeah.
was
No, I
I was
understand.
I was drinking and doing drugs at work, quite a bit. So that was just what we did. So yeah, I mean, it was bad, and it started at a young age, So it's funny,
Right.
like I got sober by the age of 20.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did you get sober before you could even drink? I was like, because I started drinking, when I was like 12. I started doing, um, well, everyone, like, why I wouldn't say everyone, but I did weed, which people don't call it. But like basically I'd like did cocaine when I was like 14, and I was just like, okay. And it was just like something that ran in my family. So it was not going down the right path. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a bad thing. And I just look back, and I'm honestly like, everyone has a different path. I'm grateful for that path. I wouldn't change it for anything. And it's just like, I'm just grateful that, I could handle it, that I could come out on the other side, because a lot of people, it's not that they don't want to, it's just,
It's just they
addiction
can't.
itself is a real
Yeah.
thing. It's just like, you actually can't. And I feel like that's so much about, like everything in life, like, just keeping that gratitude of, I can train, like some people can't even do that. I can do this. I can, you know what I mean? And it's just keeping that gratitude that keeps you, you know, I'm motivated in a sense as well. So yeah, like I said, I just feel lucky I was able to kind of get over that hump. when I was young, but still have that experiences and all the kind of all the, I guess, not the best word, but like character that it built through the process of getting through
Right.
it. So yeah.
No, it's a good word. It's a fitting word. It's the right word there, because it is a thing that can guide and can be a guiding principle and a
Mhm.
character builder for people. As you said, everybody has their own journey, everybody has their own path. Some people can't get out of it, and for you to be able to get out of it at a time when a lot of people are, that's where they're getting into it. That's where I started
Yeah.
going down those paths, was at 18. Thankfully I got out of most of them. I still have the occasional beverage around the house,
Yeah.
but like fortunately got out of them before too long,
Mm-hmm.
and now I get to be here,
All
and
turns into a
fortunately you did
problem.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You mentioned the story that a lot of people know, loading up, was it a Crown Vic? Do I remember this correct?
Yeah. Lincoln Continental.
There we go, a Lincoln
Yeah.
Continental. I knew it was some old boat.
Yeah.
Some old boat that got loaded up out to Sac to train at Team Alpha Male for a number of years with that crew. What was it like being a aspiring fighter in a room like that with Faber? And like, it feels weird now seeing Faber smiling on the pay-per-views and waving and knowing
Yeah.
that he's like 40 something, but he's still got the cherubic face.
Yeah.
And I think people don't necessarily remember or understand that Faber was a great big deal when you went out to Sacramento. He was a world champion. He was the face of that promotion. What
Yep.
was it like rolling into that room and meeting, him, Chad Mendez, Danny Castillo, all the boys that were in that room? That was such an amazing team, and still has an incredible legacy to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. And you know what's funny is like going back before that, it was obviously really cool meeting Faber. All that happened such just serendipitously as well. The way it happened, it was like perfect. Um, but you know what's funny is when I went in, no one was there but Faber. Like this wasn't a thing. Like I was the first person there that like, well, Faber had his other guy. His name's Dustin Akbari. Maybe you've heard
Yep,
him.
I remember Dustin
So
Akbari.
those were the
Yep.
only two people there when Faber was starting this gym. And I went in, they were getting it ready. Like it wasn't what the gym was, but Faber started telling me like, hey, this is like, I'm building this team. It's going to be small guy. I'm getting all the wrestlers from California that I have good relationships with. This is going to be like a real home for pros. We're going to have people come down and like, this is going to be a big team. And that's what sold me. But I was the first person sold on it, so not like, no, correct. But like, it's funny because those people, Chad, Danny, TJ, Lance Palmer, all those guys, they went in and remembered like, oh, like he's already fought in Japan. He's already,
Right.
done this. He's been in the WEC. So it was kind of crazy. But funny enough, on the flip side, it was crazy seeing these people come in. Because I actually knew Chad Mendez because I follow NCAA wrestling. Like, if you're, in combat sports. And just seeing Danny come in and kind of how he developed and like what that relationship was. Seeing Andre Feely, come in with an ankle brace. You know what I mean? Lance Palmer, who ends up being like the best man in my wedding years later. Chad Mendez, who I end up being in his wedding. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
That's the cool part is like all these guys just like come in the door like, and they just become family like there. That was what I think was the great part about it. It was just like, it was the first one. I felt like we were building something there. I was one of the first ones to go and remember grinding, working the front desk, handing out flyers and everything,
Right.
teaching kids
Doing all
class.
the jobs all the
And
way
all
along
these
so that you
guys
get
coming in and
to,
just seeing like, what's up with this Danny guy? Like, he seems like an asshole. He has his bandana on and he's like too cool for everyone. And then, you just meet him and then like soften him up and you're just like, God, like that's my brother, like forever. You know what I mean?
right.
So it was really cool just seeing all that come into play and how it built and how everyone is still, very much like that today, connected in a way,
I was going to say, you mentioned the family aspect, and I know from my covering the sport, you guys, even at that very early stage and throughout, always felt to me, yes, you were a team. Yes, you all trained under the same umbrella, under the same banner, but you were the first group to me, and one of the only groups to me that really felt like, okay, these dudes all 100% ride together all the time. Like everybody's at everybody's fight. It's a big pack of people all the time. And then, as you mentioned, getting to know you, getting to know some of the other guys a little bit, you were always together, like outside of, and it was legitimately, like, as you said, Lance Palmer is best man in your wedding. You're in Chad's wedding. Like, what's that
Yeah.
like finding that?
Shoot, I don't know. I mean, it's it's not it's I mean, it's
Because it's
obviously
not the
to
thing you're seeking out initially,
yes.
right? Like you don't go into it like, hey, I'm gonna meet some of my best friends in the
Yeah.
world. And now some of your best friends in the world were these dudes that came in the door after you and were
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's funny. It's just it's like you said, you don't seek it out and you don't really expect it, but at the same point, it was like it couldn't have been any other way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, of course these people become my best friends because we go through such ups and downs together with each other. You're celebrating my wins, hurting in my losses, and we're doing the same for each other. We're very close knit. It was just that time of growth that it's funny you say that, like, what is it like? But it's like I wouldn't have known any other way to like not, you know what I mean, be like
right,
that. And obviously you connect and you stay closer and everyone grows up, which is crazy. Is like, we used to just be these kids going to dinner, then now they have, kids and
kids and
wives and
lives
everything
and
like
yeah.
that. So yeah, but it was I mean, I don't know, man. It's funny because to me, it's almost like even though I didn't see that happening, like I didn't know I was gonna move to California and do this and do that. Like I had expectations, but now looking back, it's like I couldn't see it any other way. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to imagine really a different way of it happening. So yeah.
So a 15-year professional fighting career ended a little over 2 years ago, pulled the plug a little over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What are the not necessarily highlights, but when you look back and reflect on your career, you've used the word gratitude here already today.
Yeah.
And I know from knowing you that that is a thing that you hold very dear and hold on to. What are the pieces of that career and of that time in your life, that era of your life that you are most grateful for?
Whew. I mean, yeah, I mean like honestly, if we're talking like what I'm most grateful for out of it, I mean, look, it obviously gave me, a life like that I dreamed of, being able just to be a professional athlete and make money, doing what I love, meeting a beautiful wife, having a house, a car, like all that kind of things, that you do. Like, so grateful for that. But really from the top, from my wife to my friends to my family to, media to employees with the UFC. The thing I am most grateful for is the people and the relationships I built because like we need that, we need that love, that camaraderie, those people, that support. And it's like my whole support system. I mean, obviously I have my family and my friends before, but like for the last 20 years and all those hard parts of my life, and even now when I have to reach like it's all through that. It's all in some branch of MMA, whether it's a coach or just an employee at the UFC or a media member or anything, giving me an outlet. Like that's another huge thing. Like, we're super grateful for is just having the outlet that the media gives you. So, I mean, I guess to dumb it down, like it's the people that I'm more grateful for that I met along the journey, because like what would have it just been if I was just doing it alone? I'd be really happy in like a house by myself, like,
Right.
with no one to hang out and talk to and do interviews with.
Right.
So yeah, it's like all the people you met along the way, but just the experiences in general. But once again, the experiences are amazing, but it's like the experience with those people. Like I wasn't experiencing it myself, like, traveling
Yeah.
around, the
Nothing
ups and
is
downs.
nothing is solo.
Yes, yes. It's like all the experience, the traveling, the ups and downs, you're grateful for both of them. I mean, at the time you just think, this is the worst time of my life when you're down. But when you look back, it's like you can be grateful for that time because like once again, you remember like who was there when it did it. And like you're grateful you had that down and you could see like, oh man, remember, how they were, how they helped you, how they support you, and it just grows your love and gratitude that much more for the people that are around.
So I remember I don't think I've ever actually said it to you this way or even conveyed it. Speaking with you after UFC 152 was one of the most impactful things for me, because I know going into that fight, it was your world. It was everything. It was life or death.
Yeah.
Fighting for the inaugural flyweight title. Everything hinges on this. I've got the picture of the belt up there. It's the
Yeah.
only thing that's missing. And you came out of it. And one of the times that we talked soon after, you were like, I got up and everybody still loved me. I
Yeah.
got it. You know what I mean? Like, I went through the next set of days and all the people that were around me beforehand were still around me, even though I lost, even though I didn't succeed. And it changed your mindset. And hearing that from you, who fell short by, I mean, I can't even make the, split decision, razor thin
Yeah.
on the biggest stage in front of everybody, say, okay, it was all right the next day. I'm still going forward. I went, okay, all the little stuff in my life that feels like life or death, it's not life or death. These
Yeah.
folks that are here are still going to be here. So
Yeah.
one, thank you for that. Two,
That's amazing. Yeah.
how important was that for the rest of the career? Because there weren't a lot of defeats. There weren't a lot of losses. Got a pretty shiny record overall. But
Yeah.
it
It
feels
was.
like it really transformed something for you going forward in your career.
Yeah. I mean, it's like facing that fear. That big monster was like losing. You know what I mean? And I had lost, before, and I think maybe only one time before that, or to Cruz, or one person.
Yeah,
But
one person
yeah,
for a
yeah.
long time. For a
So
long time, it was just
yeah,
stay
it was
away
just
from
2 weeks.
Dominic Cruz and Demetrius Johnson, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
good.
exactly. So, um, yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that, like, you see so many young fighters now that, oh, I'm just gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna be undefeated. I'm gonna be a double champion, and it's just like, you guys will figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, all right, like you guys will realize, like, things happen. But it was one of those things of just, when you have this crazy anxiety about like doing something, this big fear, and then you do it and you're like, I was worried about that. Like,
Right.
to me, sometimes it's an email or like something dumb. Like, oh, I don't want to do this is like too much. And then like you just do it and you're just
I was
like,
stressed
why
about
was I
that.
scared? Why was I stressed about that? And it's like the loss, everything hurt. But it was just kind of like, I was like, is the world gonna crumble? Is everyone gonna leave me? And I was just like, all of a sudden, I was like, wait, you guys
Everything,
saw that and you're still here?
yeah,
Like,
everything's still the
everything's
same.
okay? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Dustin Poirier said it perfectly this week. He's like, that guy, obviously, honestly, I'll just take the chance to say he's the best. He's like everything a fighter should be, everything a person should be, the way he deals with his ups and downs gracefully, but also just the way he deals with the whole business and just true to himself while
Agreed.
like he's everything a fighter should be. Love that guy, but I love what he said about just like, we're not at a funeral or anything.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
already won in life.
Right.
I'm winning now. This is just a speck on my life. You know what I mean? So that is the best way to describe it. Like, the way he said that is like the exact feeling I was feeling then, that, I just didn't have wasn't as eloquent to say or whatever. But that's just literally the feeling. Is just like, okay, like that happened. Like, I'm
Right.
grateful for everything else because it's one thing, and
Yeah.
once again, it goes back to like, that helps so much more when you're not alone, and you have, like, a lot of that is because he has his people, he has his family, he has, his kids, his wife, his team around him that he knows. You know what I mean? It's a lonely sport, so you need those people when you're going through those ups and downs. So
For sure.
yeah.
How did you decide to walk away? How did you know for yourself that it was time to be done? It was time to move on to the next chapter of things.
Um, Honestly, it was probably after my second loss to Figueiredo, where like I kind of just knew like I wasn't going to get that opportunity again. And that was the only, like, at a certain point, people say you don't have nothing to prove. Well, all I really had to prove, or all I really wanted to accomplish, was getting the world title that had, like, evaded me. So that was really, like, that was the only thing I was still staying really around for. Well, I shouldn't say that, because it meant a lot to me to kind of keep the division running and in the forefront of everything as well, because that was very important to me, like seeing people, not only that I like, just people like me, like small weird dudes that can scrap, make a living as a professional athlete. Like, I wake up in a house with a beautiful wife, in a nice house, get in a car, and it's like, there's a ton of other, 125-pound, I'm just going to say, like, Mexican guys, weird guys that, like, oh, I can fight, but, like, that deserve, like, that life and to make that them a career as well. And so that, like, meant a lot to me too, is like keeping that going. Just like, no, I'm not
Yeah,
fucking
we're not.
kind of thing. So it was just like, that was important, but like the title for me. So after that second loss, it was kind of like, I don't think I have like another like 5-fight run in me.
Right.
And then when I looked at, kind of the people that I would even have to fight to go on that run, it wasn't motivating and exciting to me anymore.
Yep.
Like most of the guys, including the champion now, like, they were on my team in the Ultimate Fighter. I was like,
Right.
I never wanted to fight any of those guys, and then the other guys that aren't are, taking pictures with me, at fights, and telling me they used to watch me in high school with their dad.
Right.
And I'm just
Right.
like,
So it's hard to go out there and punch that guy in the
Molina, or
head.
someone like all the other guys that are like killers, like Royval, Molina. I'm like, I don't really want to fight these guys. And they're like, bro, I used to watch you like after I came home from like middle school wrestling practice. And yeah, my dad, like, you guys, I'm just like, oh shit, okay. And we take a picture and I'd be like, I don't want to like not only fight, I just don't want, I like it doesn't excite me to fight someone that like used to watch me in high school, because in a way I'm like doing it so these
So that they can
smaller
have
kids
that
in high
opportunity.
school can go have that
Yeah.
career and that life that I am so grateful for. So it just got to the point where like I didn't like once again, to dumb it down, is like I felt like I didn't have any other reasons. And at the end of the day, you go to your whys. And why am I doing it? Why am I doing this? And like my why was like, I don't know, a paycheck. Like, that's not a reason to fight. Like, that's how
Right.
people get hurt. That's how people stay around too long. And I always knew through my career that, I had seen people, that, you, you idolize or whatever, like, go too far. Why did they go too far? Because they needed the money. They didn't know any other way. And that's a tough time. So I made sure I did, right with my investments, all through, where I was going to be comfortable to walk away whenever I wanted. It would have been great to walk away. Hey, like, I'm the champion. I can like walk away now. But just being able to walk away knowing like, oh, I'm going to be okay. I have, you know, all this, all that, I made all the right decisions, and I don't have to stick around and become this and put myself in danger, um, all that kind of stuff. So I always knew I wanted to do that. So like I said, I was just smart with my money from there, and I knew I'm going to walk away when I want to. And it was just the time I just came to the point where I didn't have anything else. So after my second loss, when I realized I'm not going to have a title anymore, I had one more fight, because I was just kind of like, well, I don't also want it to end like that,
Right.
where I don't even like hardly remember the fight. So I went in one more, and I mean, I would honestly say I felt great like all through it. And I was really taking the, like, this is my last practice. Like, I put everything into it, but when you're not into it, you're just not into it. And I just like, even the whole time in the fight, I just kind of like, man, like, realize I don't really
Yeah.
want to do this anymore.
We're out here, and I'll throw some punches, and we'll
Yeah.
try to get out of the way of you, but
Yeah.
this just
It
isn't the
wasn't it
same
wasn't
as
it wasn't like what I used to feel in there.
right.
And then that's when I really knew. So, it took me some time to announce it. because I was just kind of like, there was no rush. I didn't want it to be a big thing. I don't like all the like attention and praise and questions and all that kind of stuff. And also I just want to make sure like I want to make sure like I don't want to like go into the gym. I don't want to do anything. And it's a hard thing trying to find another path. And it's a traumatic like breakup almost. You do something for 20 years and it's what you're good at, it's what you're best at, it's what you're made to do, and all of a sudden like that's not what you do anymore. It was a hard time, but I wanted to make sure like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. So I went 6 months and I hadn't stepped into a gym, and I was like, well, I can definitely call it a day. And funny enough, I was just tired of like filling out USADA things because like I was like going to Italy and I was
Right.
literally on the plane. I'm like, I'm gonna announce my retirement right now so I don't have to do this. So I was just like, but now's the time. And I even tried to get with the matchmakers. I was like, hey, like, can I just like retire and like no one know, or do I have to like make it a thing? And they're like, well, they'll see that you're removed from this and that'll happen. I was like, damn it. So I tried to do
Right.
it. Next day, you know, there was news and all that. But funny enough, once again, all the things I like didn't look forward to and that I like feared and like didn't want to happen was the most rewarding things. Like actually all the praise, like I don't know why I hate praise. I'm just like, dude, leave me alone. Like it's fine. But every all that stuff and all the fans and peers and media coming out and actually like saying, you know, things about me and my career, like that was the best rewarding part. And I was like, why did I not want to do this? This is great. Like this is so great, and it was a really good moment as well. But once again, it was like all the things I like was trying to stay away from ended up being the best part of retiring.
Well, I will keep my praise part
No, no,
here
no,
real short. You were one of
no.
the best to ever do it, my
Yeah,
friend. Top 5 in 2 divisions for 15 years.
yeah,
Absolute legend.
yeah.
Hopefully, we see you in the Hall of Fame somewhere soon
Thanks,
because you
brother.
deserve it. You've earned it.
Yeah,
Let's pivot from MMA now
yeah,
because
yeah.
there's so much more
And
to
if you
Joseph
hear me,
Benavidez.
I said I liked that. I didn't think I would, but I did. So you can
Yeah,
you
I
can keep
understand.
it.
Okay.
You
Well,
can,
all
just
right.
kidding.
All
Just
right. All
kidding.
right. So you threw a I'm not fucking leaving out
Yeah,
there,
I
which
did.
ties to your love of movies, which is
Yeah,
something you and I have talked about. You've talked about with other members of the media
yeah.
regularly. You occasionally on Instagram. You're not as active on Instagram anymore these days. You used to
No,
give us your like monthly rundown of everything I
no,
watched and
I
ratings.
know.
So
That
what
was
is the best thing you've watched lately?
man. Like I know I miss that too, and I get people that come. Like, dude, I used to have the Dapper Scrappers,
We were going to get there.
which was amazing. I had the movie thing. I obviously have a ton of like interest outside the cage. Um, but so funny enough, I'll say this about the movie part because I had the other little film account called Ultimate Film Club that I was just messing around because I was doing it so much on my own personal Instagram and it was great. People loved it. Just this is what I watched this month. Maybe 11 movies, maybe 15 movies, depending where I'm at in camp and everything happening and talk about them. And it was so fun. And I just love the interaction with all the people and fans and everyone else that like movies. Um, but you know what is like, I think after I retired, I needed like a like I just craved like lightness. You know what I mean? And I used to watch movies because I don't know, like someone was going through something. I needed this like life-changing like character study, change my life, like make me cry, inspire me, like up, down. Like those are the kind of movies I watched. And I just like when I retired, I was just like, I just want to like sit there with my dog and like listen to like pop music and like watch reality TV and like just like, you know what I mean? I just craved this like lightness, like, oh my God, my life was so hard. Not hard. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I know
what I
what you
did
mean though.
was
Like
so
right,
hard and
it took a
traumatic.
lot. It's
Yes. And it was so
emotional, it's
traumatic.
invested.
Yes. And emotional for these last 15 years. Like, I don't need that. So every time I was like, oh, now that I'm retired, I can go watch all these old classic movies I haven't gotten to. I have my list of the movies I need to watch. And then like I just got there and I was like, I don't need that right now. Like
Right.
want like I don't want something so heavy right now. So I'd be like, there's a new season of Love is Blind. I'm gonna watch that. And
Those exact conversations happen in the Kite household, just it's the other way now, right now
Yeah.
of like, it's the same. I don't have space for the like emotional, but it's like, I'm already feeling emotional. So we don't need to watch the new season of Queer Eye because I cry at every goddamn
Yeah.
episode. Like
That's a great show.
transformative, doing stuff for good people. And I just like sit there on one side of the couch, like, don't look at me. Let's turn this off and put on an episode of New Girl.
Yeah,
Like,
I love, dude,
something.
yeah, Queer Eye
Just-
was the best.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like, so funny enough, I'll answer your question, but I also will add on to it. So when I say that the lightness, everything is like, I just was like not craving like all the movies. So I rewatch some movies that I always love when I just want to. And then what I actually watch every day, like literally every day, probably put it on, kind of like people like put on The Office, is I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. That's like what I watch every day. Like that's a show I've been obsessed with for a long time. There's 3 seasons, so it's been going for a while. But it's one of those things that just gets better if you watch it. Just changed my whole brain, honestly, my personality. This hat is a reference to the show. Everything. It's really, like I said, ruined my brain and ruined a lot of social situations that I've been in as well. But like that's something I just watch every day because it's like it's just my comfort. Like I just watch it. I know it. It's my whole personality, my brain. As far as movies go, the last thing I watched was Barbie in the theater. Haven't got to Oppenheimer yet. And it was a little the same thing. I was like, all right, I'm going to go watch both the same week. Barbenheimer it up to cultural phenomenon. And when I was done with Barbie, which actually had a little, I mean, it had meaning and a little bit of
Right.
heaviness to it. But then I was like, am I ready to sit there for like a 3-hour, like,
Right.
hurt you type of movie? Or like the things I heard. So I haven't gone to see Oppenheimer, which I still want to. But yeah, I saw Barbie. I loved it. I thought I thought I couldn't love Ryan Gosling more than I did, but like I love him more somehow. Like I thought
Fair
he was
enough.
the greatest ever in it. He was so funny. Like he's always been funny and like quirky
Yep.
characters, but like I feel like his comedy like timing got to shine through with like the script they gave him and the character. Like he was born for that part. And like when he wins like an Oscar for Ken, or if he does, when he does, he should. Like I just feel like it'll like world peace will happen. Like it's just the right thing. Like it's so beautiful. Like yeah. But that was a great movie. I loved it. We went to that, and that was really the last movie I've watched. Like I think I got home like the 2 nights after I watched like 20th Century Woman, just because that was a good one and Greta Gerwig was in it. And I remembered it was on. I was just kind of bored. I watched La La Land again, but Barbie, if we're staying on like topic, is the one. Barbie, and I think you should leave is what I watch every day.
Okay. So I will definitely give it a shot because I haven't yet.
Bro.
Never experienced an episode. I know you have talked about it lots. I see lots of friends,
Right.
lots of people that I know quoting it, sharing it. I just kind of need to know for the memes, I think. Like I need to just be
It's
in
the
there so that I understand the memes. So I will
it's
definitely
it is a language. Like it's such a
okay.
language that's so, and when I say that, it's like if someone says a quote from old school or like a movie they love, a Step Brothers, like all right, you kind of like understand.
Right.
Their stuff is so like it's another language. Like you don't know what people are talking about unless you know that language. It's
I
like just
gotcha.
hearing like someone speak, Portuguese, and you're just like, dude, what are they saying? But it's the best show ever. And there's so many layers to it. Like off the bat, you're just like, oh my God, it's funny, like this kind of like guy quotable humor. But dude, there's so many like meta layers to the show and it's so quotable. Like it gets better. I'll tell you this. The first time people will fall in love with it, but the first time is the hardest watch. Like it only gets better.
Okay.
Is the weirdness kind of like and the absurdness kind of like, like you know what you're getting, and now you can concentrate on the more like intricate things of it, like the small like throwaway lines that are just perfect, like all the mundane stuff in it. Dude,
Okay.
it's mastermind shit.
I'll get started. It will
It's
become my taking an hour at lunch break. That'll be what
yeah.
goes on
And
for
it's
you
great. The
so that
episodes
I
are
get through it.
15 minutes long,
Okay. We can do
which
this.
is
I can
great.
do this. I will
Yeah,
get into
it's
this.
the greatest. Start at season 1. I think if you go to Netflix, it'll start you at season 3 just because that's the latest season. 1, classic. 2, the best. 3, once again, it gets better with watches. So 3 is the newest one. So it just hasn't, but there's a ton of memes already on it. Like it's already is culturally like doing well, but two's like unbelievable.
You
Comedy.
mentioned in there Dapper Scrappers.
Yeah.
Will it ever return? Will we ever get Joe Benavidez out on the road occasionally taking pictures of fighters? Because I recall I took a picture of you years ago in Houston, UFC 192, yourself and Brett Okamoto doing an interview. And when I showed you the picture after I posted it, you were like, bro, you didn't get my shoes in it. My shoes are my best part of the wardrobe. They were leopard print slides, like leopard print Vans, like great. So does it come, will it come back? Will we get it again? Will it make an occasional return, or has it been laid to rest?
I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I actually like also like I have like we're good on time.
Okay,
Basically, like we can
cool.
go to the hour. I don't know if I should say that live. I was gonna
Oh,
text.
that's
I
fine.
was like, we're here. We
We're
can
here.
go. We
It's
can go
great.
20. We can go an hour. Yeah. Now that I'm looking at the time, we should be
Awesome.
good. Basically, so a lot of this wasn't like a lot by choice that like, hey, I don't want to like do this anymore. Like when the pandemic happened, I had like
Yep.
no access to
100%.
computers. I mean, like you already know from media, and it's like it was like a media thing. I'd go to, media days, press conferences. I'd have to get credentialed a lot of the times. So it was like that kind of like put a halt to it, and that was hard. And then even say I was at the fight or I was cornering and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make it like fighters are doing Zooms for media day.
Right.
Like they're not like dressed up. Like there was no content to even.
Right.
And then as it started to get up, it was like, all right, well, it's been resting for so long. I've done a little like a few just revamping posts, like which I'll take from someone else, or I see some media take some good pictures, which is another good way to use it. But it also just didn't feel like what I set out to do. Like I wanted to be the one doing it and taking it. So I'm like, I don't just want to take that. And like I could still probably do that, but then it just became like I'm not at every fight anymore. Like I have, like when I was fighting was my life. So even if I wasn't fighting, I was just waiting to fight and train. So I would go on the road and do that. Now, I have my own like real estate business and stuff I have to do and all that kind of stuff where it's just like, I can't just take access to every show,
Right.
take time to do that. And then on top of that, it's like I had a ton of like ideas to I don't know, just to grow it, like from what it was, like because it was a very organic, like I was taking pictures of my peers and outfits. It was great. And there was a lot of like little things and stuff I had ideas of that got kind of like it's never too late to do them. And I know that, but I have, other things going on.
For sure.
And it's just kind of like I couldn't spend all my time doing like a passionate thing that was at the end of the day just like, you know, like cool for
Listen,
people. What
listen, you're preaching to the choir
yeah,
here. We are on my Substack that is the passion thing for me,
yeah,
and it gets done after the stuff that pays the bills gets done. So
exactly.
it makes complete sense.
That's what
Fully
it is.
understand.
That's basically what it is. And at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the great thing about it was like I liked it. It was fun. The fans liked it, and like I wanted to give fighters like another layer, another level, another more human layer because it's so hard for us to be individuals. So it was all out of um, it sounds weird to say like not giving back, but just like helping out, like build another layer, just like a media. Like just you want to know what we say. It's like, well, that's another conversation that we can have of just that's an instant silent
Right.
conversation of what are they, what's their character, all that. So, but now it's cool too, because even like with the real estate stuff, like I'm helping fighters on a life level. That's what I did to retire. That's what I invest my money in. That's why I was allowed to walk away from fighting is having real estate investments and rental income and all that. And now it's like, oh, it means a little more helping them like in life and financially, and like, hey, that guy looks really cool, so it all balanced out who it is. And I still have an open schedule. I'm still semi-retired, even though I do stuff. So it's never too late.
All right. Well, talk me through a little bit of the real estate thing, because as you said, it is something. And again, you and I know each other outside of your fighting career, so I've known that you have been invested in real estate and things like that because I
Yeah.
worked with your wife and I've known the pair of you for a number of years now. It's scary how old we are getting. Me ahead of you guys because I'm always older than everybody I talk to.
39 today for me.
But like,
Yeah.
how did you turn something you were already doing for yourself personally into not necessarily a career, because it's not the whole of what you're doing, but another outlet for you and something that you're now very much invested in and bringing to other people?
Yeah. That was honestly just it was once again just trying to bring value, I think. You know what I mean? Like trying to bring value to, you know, other people I cared about, other people like me, and not just fighters, all athletes, that have like a window of time, but all people in general, like this helps everybody, obviously. So I have like a niche and a sphere, I guess, of MMA people, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like bringing value to people and to families and everything. So, I mean, getting into it is just, I got into it really just learning along the way, moving around, training, having my wife live here, realizing, oh, well, we need a house here. You're paying here. Oh my God, I'm going to be staying in this town for 2 months to train. Why would I be paying somebody else when I could just get a place and I rent it out like they're renting out to me when I'm gone? And then you just learn and you learn and you learn. So it was something I just found great success in and learned along the way. Once again, like that's another thing when I go to advise people, I can show them the path, that I use to walk away when I wanted, not have to fight past my means and all that. I also feel, yeah, so that was basically when I was sitting here and like I talked about, you know, I cold turkeyed working out. I didn't step into a gym. My other passion, we'll get to it,
We
but
will.
what saved my life before that was pickleball. Like that's all I do now. I haven't stepped in an MMA gym in 2.5 years. And for 6 months, I didn't do any working out, became totally unhealthy. And I realized like I can't cold turkey working out. I did this for 20 years. I need to do something.
Right.
Pickleball got my like mental, physical stimulation, everything. So, anyways, when you're sitting there after 20 years of, being really good at something, it's very intimidating to think to even start anything because you're like, well, I'm not like that was my life. Like, I'm not going to be as good at that. And if it is, it's going to take till I'm this old. And I have to put all the, like, it's such like we were talking about, like, it's this big, like, anxiety filled, like, decision of like,
I think about it every 4 days.
yeah,
Like just every 4 days, it comes across me of like, what happens if all of a sudden I get the call of, we're not doing freelance anymore. Sorry, go on.
yeah,
What do I do? Where
yeah,
do I
man.
go next? I think I have skills, but thus far, none of the people I've reached out to be like, hey, would you like to employ me? Would you
Yeah,
like to give me a full-time salary to allow me to do these things? Has ever been like, yes, we'd like to do that, and we'd like to keep you around long term. I
yeah,
I understand.
exactly, man. And and that was the thing. And it's like I knew I didn't want to go back. Like I retired for a reason. Like I didn't want to coach. And now I have that same journey with like other people,
Right.
for less money and for less like everything, like all the things I like. Now
Right. Right.
and I don't want to. And I tried the analyst thing on a few shows, and it just felt like work. It was boring to me. I was like tired of talking about fighting. I was tired of doing it. So I knew it wasn't something. But basically, once again, you're retired and you're like, damn, I was one of the best ever at this. Like, how am I ever going to be that good at something else? And I looked at just things I was interested in. And what's funny about me, like we just talked about, I'm interested in a ton of things.
Yeah.
But loving shit isn't a job. like, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
Like,
more and more
kind of,
these
it
days, you
is.
can make it.
It
That's the
is, but
good
you know what I
thing.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's obviously a path to make the things.
Yes.
I shouldn't even say loving it because actually loving it is a job and it should start like that. Like you should do something you're passionate about. But I
Right.
guess like people would be like, well, he has a ton of interest. He'll be great. I was like, like being interested in something's not a job just because I can like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like it's like
It's an
not a job, and
important
if it
it's
is,
an
it's a
important
very
clarification to make for the current aspiring generations that look at influencers and
yeah,
people like that go, well, I love this thing and I'm going to have a career doing that. It
yeah,
doesn't just work that way.
yeah. Like
It's
I can
not
talk
just
about random things for hours on end, but like
right,
that's not a job of like,
right,
of just talking about movies or a show or Taylor Swift or whatever, So it's just like, it was just basically, I'm here. I'm like, all right, well, what do I like that's like practical? You know what I mean? And it was like I looked at, my real estate investments, how, you know, well, I was like, every time I worked with someone, they're like, "Oh my God, like this is so great," I'd work with agents that would ask me for advice on, investing and where to go and what markets and all sorts of things, and how to do this with Airbnb and all sorts of things. I'd be like, well, I could just do that. And then
right,
basically, and then I saw the path of like that can also bring value to the people I want to bring value to, that I was trying to bring value to with this, with that, and help them really create a path to, the freedom they need to retire and stuff like that. So, and at the same time, like I said, that's my niche, but that is for anybody. Like,
right,
I meet people at pickleball. It's great now. Like when I say I'm semi-retired, it's like I don't live like a realtor life. Like I'm not like, hey, like cold calling, putting like
running
I
out,
have
dropping
personal
off
relationships.
flyers. Right,
I have personal relationships, which are great. I build personal relationships, word of mouth from there. But it's like, to me, it's like, and I meet people, like I said, at my other obsession, which is pickleball, and I meet people that, I bring it up in conversation, just because it's what I do. It's kind of, I mean, it is what I do now, but even on the investment side. So it's like, when I looked at it also, is like this still also allows me to schedule like for other interests. Like the thing about real estate is like I can, it's like anything else. You get in what you put in, but you
right,
also, you don't have a 9 to 5. Like
right,
I can work hard for a week and I can take off a week, I can get someone under contract, you know, you know, do a few little talks for a month, with I'm not doing anything, so it gives me a schedule also, like, oh, if I want to go redo Dapper Scrappers, or I have this, idea to do this, like I can do that while I still do this, while still actually building at my own pace to make it like a career, which it is now. Like I'm having a great first year in it, I think being like, just being the person I was throughout my career, and, knowing, people can trust me, and being a pioneer of sorts, will allow people, like, basically, like if someone was like, I don't know, it worked out good. Like when I asked someone, they might trust me more than they trust like another random retired fighter just going, "Hey man, you want to do this?"
right,
It's a little different. So
right.
I mean, I think it's a good thing, and like, and once again, but it all comes like anything else with doing the work and being educated in it and having the experience in it as well. You can't just go into something and pretend you do it without having the experience. If I want to talk to people, I mean, about buying their first home and building on that, investing, like I also want to have walked that path. So yeah, that's it, man. And still allows me, like I said, a great schedule. And when I'm thinking about the things I talked about with the weight class of, you know, I want people to be able to have this life, this career, diaper scrappers. I want them to have, more people to see them in an individual light. Well, when I'm doing this, it's even more valuable because, I'm building for them,
Wealth
what
for
in
them
in
going
a real
forward.
sense for the future. And, injuries can come up, careers can be cut short, you never know how you're going to feel in the next year. And, to have something to walk away with, and be happy and safe and fulfilled is important to me too. So I'm doing that. But at the same time, like basically it's like if I meet someone that is a peer or knows me as a fighter, I want them to be like, oh my God, he was really an amazing, you know, he was incredible realtor. And if a person meets me as a realtor, I want them to be surprised at like, what the heck? That guy used to beat people up. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yep.
So
Makes sense.
it's kind of a cool thing when I meet people that don't know. I just try to be really good at my job.
Right.
And when I read people that do know, I just try to be really good at my job. So
Makes sense. It's a pretty good philosophy. Just be good at your job.
yeah, it's cool.
Pretty straightforward. If more
Yeah,
people did it, we would be in better places
yeah,
overall in
yeah,
life.
exactly. Yeah, so it's a cool thing because they'll be like, "What the heck?" And they'll be surprised, that like, "Oh, well, like you really know how to do this." But then, someone that just really thinks I know how to do it are surprised, like, "What the heck? Like you used to
Right.
fight people? You're too nice or whatever." So it's a good time. And like I said, it was a natural progression for lifestyle, scheduling, the sphere and everything, and the
Right.
experience I had in life. So
All right. So we've touched on it. It's been mentioned several times over. It was mentioned even when you were in passing in the background when Megan was on the program. You were heading out the door to go to pickleball.
but yeah,
So you said it saved your life. You
it
said
did.
it.
Dude. It did.
Let's start there. How did pickleball save your life?
And you know what? It's like it sounds like what's the word, like hyperbole or whatever. I don't even know if I'm using that right,
Yep,
but I want to get
you
that
are.
word. I wanted to get that word out
You
right now.
are.
Yeah. But anyway, it's like to just say like, "Oh, that saved my life." But like, dude, it got everything moving for me. Like it got everything moving. Like, like you need to be active to feel good. You need, look, we talked about the camaraderie and the people, the support. Like I was a shut-in, man. Like I am glad I came out like on the other side of retirement feeling good. I'm glad I even walked away from the sport in one piece, with, basically able to walk away. But
Right.
like retirement was not easy, man. It was hard. And I realized like even if people, let's say, we were talking about people, oh, well, they need to fight because maybe they didn't save the money and they need to fight for money. Well, let's say people even did have, like, oh, I'm fine with money. Like there comes a point where it's just like I understand, like they might not need to do it for money. They might need to do it because that's all they know.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of these people that we're talking about, like, they weren't fine for money. They were probably fine, but they don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? And I
Well, and
felt
there's just that competitive piece inside. Like Tony Ferguson fought this past weekend. We're recording
yeah,
on your birthday, July 31st.
yeah,
Fought at UFC 291, and for me, watching Tony, having covered his entire career, it was hard to watch because that looks like a guy that just, as you kind of just said, doesn't really know what else to do. There's
yeah,
still some positive moments, and DC said during the broadcast he still wants to be in there. You can see that he still wants to be in there, and that's 100% true. He wasn't a guy that was not engaging, but want to and ability to
mhm,
at that level are two different things. And for me, that's where I start to get nervous and scared for people,
yeah,
because that's when something not necessarily tragic happens,
yeah,
but unfortunate happens, right?
yeah,
He's got two young sons and a family and a life waiting for him outside of this whenever that comes.
yeah. And there's like something that can happen that's like really unfortunate, but the path to getting to that unfortunate is like unfortunate too.
Right.
By the time you actually get hurt, it's like you
Right.
shouldn't have had to take all that
Right.
damage or anything anyway. And like that's all long term. Like it's like nothing might not happen right now, but like that's not the best thing for your future.
Right.
And like, look, Tony's probably fine and he probably loves it. And there's other fighters I've seen that probably love it and might be fine. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know their situation. But what I'm saying is how I said earlier, like, oh, I wanted to make sure I didn't have to fight again for money, and I didn't
Right.
have to. But I can see why people fight, even if they had money. It's like, what the hell else do I do? This is like, this is me. This is my life. This is my calling, and, I'm grateful. I always tried to, like, fighting was always to me like something I did. It wasn't like who I was.
Right.
Right. So, but man, even with that being said, it was hard, man, like to figure out something else to do that's not fighting. And I'm like, man, if I'm an expert at anything, it's fighting. Like I should coach. Oh, dude, that sounds terrible. Oh, I should be an analyst. That's so boring. So it was really hard just to find that. And then that intimidating factor of, well, how am I going to, like, you want to be good at something. And it's like, I feel like I'm never going to be as good at that as I am fighting. Like, how? I'm one of the best ever. I'm a pioneer. I did this. I accomplished all this. How am I going to be that good at something else? Like, that was my calling in life. So it's really hard. But basically, okay, so pickleball, it's like I retire. I was looking forward to retiring. Like, I was like, I can't wait to waste time, watch movies, watch shows, pet my dog, listen to albums, just sit out there. I am a master at wasting time. Like, I can waste so much time, it's unbelievable. And that was really good for like the 2 months that I was like, I deserve this.
Right.
It was great. And even Megan was like, dude, like chill, like
Yeah.
relax, like it's great.
You just
But
put
it
in
comes to
15 years, take some
yeah,
time for
yes.
yourself.
You can take 2 months.
Yeah.
But when you got to the point of like, I don't want to do this anymore,
Right.
that's when it kind of got hard. Is like, like I'm used to feeling value and, I'm used to feeling, accomplished and stuff like that. And that was something we crave. I'm used to the camaraderie, the friendship, even
And
just
working
we were
towards a
thinking
goal,
about
right?
working towards a goal and like that mental stimulation we need. It's like, all right, so I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to grapple. I didn't want to do anything. I thought maybe I'd want to do some jujitsu super fights, Jiu-jitsu versus jujitsu, take some black belts out, and show MMA grappling. But, it just was like, that's the last thing I want to do is go get headlocked right now. I would try to run and bike, and I'm like, all right, I fought people for 15 years. When I used to bike, it was a nice reprieve.
Right.
It was like, oh,
Right.
this is great. I'm not getting like punched, but I'm getting this workout in. But when you're doing it as like your main work, and I'm like, this isn't fun at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just used to fight people. Now I
Right.
can't ride this bike or run or
Right.
whatever. So basically, I cold turkey working out, bro. I was unhealthy. Like, and when I say save my life, like that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I was actually like really unhealthy, like blood work wise, like all the stuff that goes with eating bad, being unhealthy, cholesterol, like all stuff like that. Because it's like I worked out for 20 years straight
Right.
and now I'm not. But at the same time, I'm eating whatever I want because I didn't get to do that for the other 15 years. Right.
Right.
So all of a sudden I'm super unhealthy and I'm like, they tell me like, oh, like work out or you're going to have a heart attack. But like, I couldn't make myself run. I couldn't make myself bike. I couldn't make myself go to the gym. Dude, Megan bought these paddles and she's like, everyone's doing this pickleball thing. Like there's a park over here. I was like, that sounds so dumb. Like I hate the name. Like it's called pickleball. Like
So
that.
I think the name is part of the thing for me too, because
Yeah.
I see people posted about it, right? And shout out to Danny Rube who posts 50 times a day about
He's really good.
pickleball.
He's
Is he
really
really good?
I'm playing with Rube today.
God damn it.
Me and Rube are like he's like my pickle. Like that's
You guys are the white men can't jump of pickleball. Is this what you're telling me?
We play every day.
Going hustle fools.
Cody Stamen plays with me a lot. That's who I'm also playing with today.
Nice.
But then also just all walks of life. Like some of my best friends at pickleball are just like spinal surgeon in Las Vegas, teacher at one of the high schools. Like it's just so funny. And I go to their house for fights and they know me as a fighter, but like we're just hanging out as friends because all my friends are just now old, like retired people. But basically, it's like when I say it saved my life, yes, like health wise, I was in a bad place. And like when you get those blood work and stuff results back, they're like, you just need to move, like walk, go outside. Being outside is so good for your mental health. Being outside, being in the sun. Oh, then you add in exercise and you feel even better. Then you add in camaraderie and people and networking and commuting, you feel even better. I was a shut-in, dude. I didn't want to be around anyone. Like I'm actually barely getting good at like being back around MMA things. Like when I went to the Hall of Fame thing, I was like, I don't like even go around. Like I haven't been into a gym to like even go say hi to anybody, So, but it's like at the same point, like we need that. And I miss that. And I got that when I went there, like, oh my God, like I'm socializing, like locking yourself in and not socializing isn't good. Like I was a shut-in, dude. Like if you didn't want to see me, they came to my house. And if not, I was just like here alone, wouldn't leave the house, wouldn't do anything, wouldn't work out. And that just got me out there. It got me flowing. And like I said, health-wise, mental health-wise, actual health wise, socialize wise. And that's when I actually like, I knew I wanted to get my real estate license, but I also couldn't get moving. That got me moving to the point of like, when you start moving, you keep moving. You know what I
Objects
mean?
in
Like
motion.
when you have a list of things to do, you keep doing them. When you have nothing to do, you do nothing. When you have one thing to do, you do the one thing. So it was just this transformation of like, oh, now I'm out. I'm back to myself. Like I'm talking to people. I'm being happy. I'm like doing this. Oh, I can do this. This is what this would do. So then that all, like I said, like transformed my health. I lost like 18 pounds, dude, right away. Got all my numbers like back to what they needed to do. They're like, well, what did you do? Like you started working out and running again? I was like, I just play pickleball like every day. And then once again, like the socialization thing, like we talked about, the most valuable thing I was grateful for was like people, being there, like meeting all the people I did in my sport. It was like, I didn't do that for like 6 months. I didn't have,
Right.
anyone besides my wife. And now I was like meeting new people, which was fun and interesting. And like, it's funny, man. So anyway, Megan got me the paddles. We started playing and I was like, this is so fun. And I started calling all the people that I know to play, so I got Cody and then I heard Rube play and I got some guys from the PI that are like strength coaches. We started playing. And then I was basically like, this is the easiest sport ever. I'm just going to go pro in this and be a professional athlete again,
Okay.
much easier sport. I was like, this is the easiest thing ever. I'm a professional athlete for 20 years. I'll kill everyone at this sport. It's great. And then I went and actually played with people that could play, which the people that can play are like 60-year-old, like Filipino ladies, and they just beat the shit out of me. And that's when I got hooked though. Cause I
Right.
was just like, it reminded me of jujitsu. It's like, this isn't about being physical or
Right.
going hard. And they kept just telling me like, you don't have to go so hard. It's okay. And I was just trying to hit the bottom and nothing would work. I couldn't do anything. And I was like, there's so much more to the sport. So we were talking earlier about like value and like, finding the sport and finding your purpose. And it's like, it's all about that, the individual part of it, but it's all about also like that mental stimulation and feeling your growth and feeling your, everything. And that's how the sport is. It was like very, like you can, like I got the mental stimulation. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm running fast. I lifted something heavy. Like it's like there's small little intricacies about it, much like a jujitsu or something. And
Right.
it's like, it's one of those sports that has like such a learning curve that it's like you can feel yourself improving like
Right.
drastically, but you can also be addicted because you can feel pretty good in like a week. Like if you
Okay.
just like if you can just hit it, like you're just like, this is easy.
Okay.
But then you like lay on all the other little levels
Right.
the next. So basically that's my
So
journey. And
so
now it's
I would
go ahead.
liken it to golf. So for me, I would liken it to golf. I can go out and I can smack a ball around a course and play with my brother-in-law, play with some friends, have a good time. The more I play, the better I get. The more frequently I go to the range, the better equipment I get, the more I can start shaving some of those numbers down, and the
Yeah.
eights become sixes and the
Mhm.
sixes become fours. And when it used to be oh my God, I got a par this round, now there's a couple. So it's sort of like that, right? It's the
Yeah.
like it's starting to get better, and now I
Yes.
want to
You can
get
feel
fancy
it.
paddles
You can
and
feel, yeah. Oh, dude. I always say this, most expensive paddle wins. Like that's it. Like anytime you don't have a good day, I think I need a new paddle. It's like that's not it. Like you know what I
now
mean? And I'm
now is
sure
there
it's
a
the same with
specific
golf. It's like I need
uniform?
new clubs. Excuse me?
Are you rocking a specific uniform? Like, are there,
Nah,
you know,
nah. I
only a
just
certain length of shorts, sleeve, no sleeve shirt, or are we just like whatever
well,
we
I
roll
gotta
out
show
in?
my thighs for the guys. But nah,
You are the beefcake.
yeah, no, I just wear my regular
All
workout
right.
clothes, my Lululemon, above the knee shorts. Well, it's hot now, so we'll take our shirt off if like, you know, if it's right, if there's like not too many
Right.
family members and stuff there. But yeah, man, you just go out, you have a good time, and like every day is a good day. Like you go out, you just play with your friends, just like I used to go to the gym and go, isn't this great? Like, what a good day, even though we beat the hell out of each other, like what a time. Like I'll come home and I'll just be like, Megan will be like, "Did you have a good day?" I'd be like, "Oh, it was the best day. We had so much fun." And I'm like, I think I lost every game,
Right.
but like I just had the best time hanging out, being social, being healthy. It's even just a great place to like network. Like I've gotten just real estate clients out there, just talking to them, letting them know what I do, and being who I am. Like I'm the mayor of Oakleaf Park. It's called. Call me the mayor of Oakleaf. So I just greet everyone as they get there, talk to them, and it's a good time, man. Yeah.
You mentioned the like, yeah, it was a great time, and I think I lost every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I remember listening back and watching. You sat down with Brendan Fitzgerald before, I think, the first fight with Figueiredo, and there was a piece in there where you said something along the lines of like, yeah, it could always be worse, was sort of the guiding
Yes.
ethos for you. It
Yeah.
reminded me, Ryan Loco, every time I talk to Loco, essentially says, well, we woke up this morning, so it's a good day, right? Like we're
Yeah.
above ground, we're good. And it's a mindset that not a lot of people have. And
Yeah.
I want
Yes.
to end on that piece of
That's a good one. Yeah.
explain that to people, because I think it's a thing that for myself, I know I need to remember more and more each day and every day, rather than fixating on the stuff that isn't going well, fixate on the stuff that could be going worse and the stuff then that is going good. So
I
share
mean,
that little
that's
nugget with
exactly
everybody.
it. That's exactly it in general is, thinking of the good things and the blessings and not, catastrophizing the bad things. And it's like, I just heard so many, like, the normal thing is like, even if you're middle of the line, like I've been better. Like
Right.
so many people just say that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
like, even if they're like having like a normal day, like,
Right.
well, of course you've been better, but it was less like my thing was just like I always remember, like I said that once. I was like, I've been worse, and it's just
Right.
like when someone wants to say like, how you feeling? I've been worse, and it's just like you know what I mean. And I just always try to keep that perspective of like,
Right.
like I look back even one year, like I was like 15 years sober or something, and it was just like, I'm just like, it's a normal day, but like I'm really glad I'm not like where I was 15 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's just like that of like looking at, I mean, once again, it's easier said than done for anyone and everyone, no matter how much they preach or say it, they probably preach or say it because they need to practice it, and I do the same thing. It's like, it's hard to be, oh, I've been better. It's not to look at this, but, and we are the people that need to, practice it the most of saying, hey, I've been worse, what I mean? And that's just kind of an outlook I have to look at in life is like, no matter how things are going, like I've been worse. I can remember a worse time. You know what I mean? You can always remember a better time. You can always make up a better story. You
Right.
can always do
Can
this,
always create that moment that was
but like, you
better.
know what? You've always been worse than you are. So I think it's just a nice, greeting when people say, if so, every time I say that, or if I hear someone say, I'd be like, but you've been worse. Oh yeah. I was like, well, why don't you say that? It's a better outlook to have in life is like, things could be worse. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
100% stealing and adopting that going forward.
Yeah.
We'll pay all attribution forward
No,
to the
no,
great Joseph Benavidez.
that's just what it is, man.
My guy, happy birthday.
Oh man. Thank you.
Thank you for
Good day.
doing this. Tell
Gets,
people where they can follow you, where they can pay attention to what's going on in your life, where they can see pickleball shots, where they can see travel exploits,
yeah.
anything going on in your life.
Yeah, man. Well, like we mentioned earlier, I'm not very active on social media, even though I want to be more active. And I always tell myself, like, I'll post one time and be like, I'm gonna keep doing this every 3 days. And then like 3 months goes, I'm like, damn it, I forgot.
Yeah.
But I really, as far as social media, I just use jiu-jitsu. Um, that's my only really social media account. That's Instagram. I just use that. Like all my real estate stuff is there as well. So you can reach out to DM on me for that and that part of the business and life. And I will try to get better, but like at posting and keeping people updated. Like I actually do want to make more like pickleball content and stuff because that's what I'm doing now. Right.
Right.
And I want to make more real estate content because that's what I'm doing. But every time I go there, I'm just doing it and I'm not. But
Right.
then I'm like,
Which
well,
is a good message too.
it
Which is
is,
a
but
really good message too. Just do it. Don't
Yeah.
contentize everything.
Yeah, but you
Just do
remember,
the
like,
damn thing.
we used to go into the gym and just be like, yeah, me, Chad Mendez, for favor today, I need to be like me, Wendy, John, Eugene,
Right.
all my guys, you know what I mean? And like what they do. So I do want to like kind of do that anymore. Not necessarily just to be content, just like how I've always done is like people of pickleball type thing,
Right.
like these are the people that
Lift
play
lift up and showcase the people that
little
do it.
things, showcase kind of things like that. So, so I do want to do more of that. Like when I'm doing the real estate, it's just I still want to show more than that, but I also like to be discreet on that end. Well, as far as clients and stuff and the properties and stuff go, but it's like I've gone out and just at least let people know, and that's mainly even once again, it's just just the way to do it is like let people know you're doing it, let them not forget about you. So I'm out there, like I'm always going to try to do better on that, but I am really good at messaging back to DMs and stuff. So I'll
I'm
be
looking forward to the faces of pickleball at Oakleaf Park,
Yeah.
courtesy of the mayor, seeing the little Filipino lolos that are kicking your ass.
Dude,
The other place to find them, guys, go to UFC Fight Pass, search that name, watch the career. One of the best to do it. I appreciate you doing this, my brother.
Watch the WEC fights too.
It has been amazing.
Yeah.
It was
so fun, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to do it.
Me too. For Joseph, I am Spencer. We'll see you
You're
again.
the best, Spencer. Thanks, brother.